Hey Marcus, how are
What
you?
what's up? How you doing?
I'm good, I'm good.
I
Um,
hope this internet holds up.
Me too. I think we'll be good.
I will see. One thing we can start like this. What you don't know is that I've been doing this quarantine without Wi-Fi. I
Oh
just moved
wow.
into a new apartment right when this all happened, and I hadn't had my Wi-Fi installed. So I've been waiting for over a month now to get somebody to come out and install some Wi-Fi. So I just got this little mini hotspot. So hopefully it'll keep us together here.
It'll hold us up. Guys,
I
this is
hope so.
Marcus's first Instagram live. So welcome to the team.
Thank you. I
We are so
appreciate it. It's
happy
cool.
and glad that you agreed to join us today. We might as well just jump right in. I have a few questions for you, and then
Cool.
we'll turn to the question bar and see if anybody jumps on as we go. So.
Okay. Cool.
So you're in France. That's super unique and super cool. What has
All
that
right.
been like with COVID-19? I know there's probably some strict policy going on.
Yeah, I think that our lives here are looking a little bit different than yours are back home. We've been on a pretty strict lockdown since, let's see, March 13th, 17th, or something like that. So we're halfway through our 60-day lockdown. So we're allowed to leave the house for essential work. If you have to go to the grocery store or the pharmacy, but that's it. We don't. We're not really allowed to just be out and about. We have to exercise 600 meters away from our house, no farther. So we've been pretty tied down here, obviously with no practice and stuff like that. Just been in the house a lot.
Yeah,
But I feel like I've been in the house a lot more than most people back home have.
probably. Our restrictions are there, but not as tight and cutthroat as that.
Right.
Um, how have you been able to stay up on the game? Just 600 meters from your house. Like, what have you been doing to stay active, stay fit?
So I've been lucky. I've been lucky. This new apartment that I moved into was great. Gave me plenty of space. Let's see if I can flip this around. So I got a nice little mini gym over here.
Oh wow.
I was able to grab some stuff from my gym before things got really, really crazy. So you'd be surprised, I mean, most people that really get after it, I know if there's any student athletes out there watching at Carolina, you guys understand what it's like to get after it wherever you are. So I got plenty of space. I got plenty of materials. And I'm just lucky to be able to still move my body. Sometimes I take my stationary bike. I'll show you guys a little courtyard out here. I take my
Ooh.
stationary bike and I wheel it from the garage right there, and I sit outside and ride the stationary bike, which is nice. So just anything I can, It's obviously not going to be anything like running up and down a court and playing basketball, but we just do the best we can to get a good sweat in and stay active.
Stay active for sure. So you've played in Germany, Israel, Poland, France. I'm probably missing a few. Some might
For
even
sure.
say
For
a
sure.
world traveler. What has it been like to play in all those different countries or really just live there? I mean, there has to be a bunch of cultural differences.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a eye-opening experience to see how we're all living all over the world and to see what it's like to be a professional athlete in all these different places as well. It's been a crazy experience, and I'll just round out the rest of the countries that you missed: Israel, Ukraine, Greece, Romania. Um, yeah, so been all over, and
Yeah.
it's just been interesting to see kind of how similar life is everywhere and how different life can be in other places. And being here in France has been a blessing for me. I played here once back in 2015, not for this team, but in France. And I just felt like that was the best. I had the best connection with life on the court and life off the court. The way of life here in France, in particular, the great competition in the league in France. I think we've seen even recently a bunch of guys from the French league that have been drafted, and
Yeah,
should be a few more coming up next year. And so you got high level competition and high quality of life here as well.
for sure. Um, I know there has to be, I don't know what you're fluent in, but there has to be some sort of language barriers that come into play. Do you have any maybe funny stories or just stories of how that's kind of how you kind of overcome that hump?
Well, yeah, I've definitely had my struggles in a lot of places. I'm lucky to be here in France, and one of the reasons why I feel more comfortable here in France is that I do speak French. I wouldn't say at a fluent level, but I'm definitely able to get by on my own out and about, and at least tell people that I don't understand and I need them to explain it to me in a different way, you know. So I
Yeah.
think I'm good enough to get by, which is great. But and I end up coming out with a little bit of every language, you know, that I'm exposed to, not a ton, but you know, Poland was difficult. My first year in Germany, that was difficult. I played for a small team, in a small city, excuse me, um, in Germany, and that was incredibly difficult to. One, I'm living on my own in Europe living on my own for the first time in
Yeah.
Europe. Don't know what's going on, and now I'm in Germany in a small town where nobody's really speaking English, and I'm
For
just trying
sure.
to figure out, you know, what the heck is going on. So that's a very interesting part of it, and that's one of the things that can make it more difficult, you know, for players to really feel comfortable wherever they go. But again, I'm lucky right now to be where I am and be able to speak the language.
Yeah. I think Luke said, let's hear some French. You got anything for us?
Oui, si tu peux parler en français, c'est pas un problème pour moi. Et on peut continuer comme ça. Sinon, on peut parler en anglais. Ouais, je
Wow.
pense que c'est mieux en anglais.
Okay, back to English for the call. Um, but you know, there's a little bit of connection to UNC with you right now. You wear number one again. Oh yes, Carolina basketball. You wear number one again here in
Yeah.
France. Any significance to the number? Was it just kind of any reason to kind of take that number back?
Way back when I was little, I was wearing number 32 for a small bit, like when I was really, really little, because my brother was wearing number 32. So that was a number that I like to wear. But the first number that I remember really having my own personal connection to was number 10 when I was in high school. And so when I got to Carolina, couldn't wear number 10. Shout out Lane Rosebud. Had to wear number one. Was only the second guy to wear number one after Melvin Scott.
Wow.
So I just took number one, and then I got a little connected to that. My first year out of college, I had to wear 10. I couldn't wear one. So I tried to stick with it. In Poland, I know for a few years I wore number 11 just to have two ones. And then I've gone back and forth between some numbers, but I am happy to be back with number one. I don't know exactly what it is, whether it's, you know, just because it was the next best thing after my original favorite number of 10. But it's been good to me, so I appreciate having the opportunity
Stick
to
with
wear it.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So to bring it back home here in Chapel Hill, you host the Marcus Ginyard basketball camp in the summer. What kind of sparked that initiative and, you know, what was the plan behind
Yeah.
that?
Well, it originally started out, 2012, the summer of 2012. I decided to have the first Marcus Ginyard basketball camp, really because my mother, she was the one that kind of brought the idea to me to like, hey, you know, we've gotten to a pretty solid level. You know, let's try to get back, you know, to where we can give back to some kids and try to help them move along in their journey to get where they're trying to get. And so it started off in Jacksonville back in 2012. Then we've been up to Washington, D.C. area. We had 2 locations up in Washington, D.C. But just recently, 3 years ago now, when we started in Chapel Hill with the Chapel Hill Community Day, and last summer we were lucky to start in Wilmington as well with the Wilmington Outreach Weekend. What we do is we offer a free 2-day clinic over the weekend. We try to partner with the police and fire departments, with local businesses, with local hospitals, and we just try to bring the whole community together around sport and try to give, you know, hopefully 60 to 100 and hopefully even more down the line, you know, boys and girls of the local community a chance to come to a basketball camp. Maybe they don't have the money to go to a week-long Carolina basketball camp or
Yeah.
something like that, you know. So come to a basketball camp, learn about, you know, what it takes to be successful on and off the court, but learning those things through the game of basketball, which is always fun. And then having a chance to interact with their local service members, police and fire department, and understand what it's like to give back to your community, to serve positively in your community. So we just wanted to be an uplifting experience for everybody. And it's been great to be a part of that the last few years. And yeah, I'm looking forward to continuing to do that. Fortunately, we won't be able to do it this year,
Yeah, not this summer, but
but we'll get, hopefully we'll be able to get back to some level of that and continue to get back to these kids.
that's really awesome. You know, that really aligns with like Uncut and what we have going on. It can be bigger than the sport, and what you're doing in
Absolutely.
Chapel Hill and Wilmington and all around the country is really amazing. You know, free
For sure.
admission, that's big because not
Yeah.
everybody can get that opportunity.
Right.
Um, So obviously you make an appearance. Do you happen to do any UNC basketball players seem to come, or do you have any invitation? Like, how is it run? Is it run by you or somebody
So
else?
it's funny we said I make an appearance. Yeah, I'm there all day, every day. It's just me and my mother in terms of all the administrative stuff.
That's
We
awesome.
do have some very close friends that help us, but my mother and I are shouldering. I mean, she's shouldering more load than I am, to be quite honest. But we take all the responsibility for it. But we got a great team around us that helps. Um, but yeah, it's really been something that's good for us, and we're excited. We're excited about what we've been able to do.
Yeah, that's awesome. So while we would be doing a disservice to not bring this up, but while at UNC you experienced many NCAA appearances, but during your senior season, the team won the 2009 title. You were injured. What was that like
Mhm.
mentally to have to watch your team during that time? But also, you were a part of that team to get there. So what was that whole experience kind of like?
Yeah, that was a tough one. It was great to still be with the team, traveling and practicing with the guys, and still being able to lead in other aspects off the floor. It definitely was difficult to not be on the court in those big moments. But it's a moment that I'm still very, very proud of. We all worked extremely hard to get to that point, and had a very, let's say, somewhat similar, not exactly the same as experiences that 17 team. Like everybody not getting where we wanted the year before, and getting back after it, and really, you know, working really hard to reach our goals. So it was still a very good time for all of us, and I'm still very, very proud of that, and happy to have been a part of that team.
Yeah. Any inside stories in that journey? You guys had a pretty significant and memorable team. Any inside stories with the guys?
Yeah, there's a ton of inside stories, but it wouldn't be inside stories. Um, no, but we had a great time together. Um, yeah, I don't know. I'd have to give more time to that to figure out which ones I can let out, which stories I can let out. But we were a good group of guys. We worked hard, and we really enjoyed ourselves, and it was good. And we have those memories for the rest of our lives. Still very, very actively in touch with Bobby and Tyler, who were roommates, suite mates, housemates of mine my whole
Yeah.
time there. So we all have very, very strong relationships that we've kept from that, and it was a beautiful thing. It was really a beautiful moment for us.
Yeah. I think Luke asked, have you and Kenny Williams ever talked about the experience of being injured during a national championship season?
We have not talked about that actually, and that's very interesting. Very good question. Um, and now that you bring that up, I might have to reach out to him and ask him about that, because it's a very, I mean, I don't know exactly what his experience was like, but we certainly have an idea of what each other were feeling at that time. So, yeah, that's interesting. And I just remembered, I got so sidetracked before talking about camp, but if I'm not mistaken, you asked if we had any current guys that came by.
Yeah, we did.
So sorry about that.
No,
I
you're
just
good.
remembered that. Yes. So we had Luke come by one year. Tyler's been out a couple years. We had Garrison last summer. We had Christian Keeling last summer. Hope I'm not missing somebody, but anyway, we have had some guys come through, and I'm very, very appreciative of those guys to come through, because at the end of the day, those are the people who the kids really want to see.
Yeah.
The guys that are on TV that they know for sure, and maybe they have heard about it because we're a championship team, but they want to see these guys. They want to see these guys dunking on command and all this stuff I
Yeah.
can't do. So yeah, but it's been really, really nice to have some of those guys stop by. So thank you guys, but they know that we appreciate it. But it's been good for the kids. It really has been.
Yeah. I think Alex asked, funniest guy on the team, best dancer on the team. I'm guessing the '09 team.
I was just talking about Bobby. He would die if I said that he wasn't the best dancer on that team. He would die. Bob definitely got after it, but best dancer on that team, DG. Uh, yeah, yeah, my gut goes DG. But Bob definitely got after it. Bob got after it.
Yeah.
Question, best answer, who funniest?
Yes.
Oh, Mike Copeland, for sure. For sure. Bob was funny. And Bob's going to hate me for this too. Bob was funny, but nobody, still to this day, is funnier than Michael Copeland. This guy is, I mean, he's just one of a kind. The most incredible, energetic spirit I've ever been around.
That's
And
awesome.
it was really, really cool to have him around. Definitely.
That's definitely necessary for a team,
He
you
helps
know.
out with camp too, which has been great. So, like I said, we're all family. We all stick together, and it's been cool. But yeah, Mike Copeland, funniest guy for sure.
Shout out for the live.
Making me laugh just thinking about him.
um, we had another, I think Justin. Yeah, Justin asked, "What was the hardest year of basketball for you?" Um, I'd say not to high school or college.
Hardest year,
Yeah.
honestly, was probably the year after the 2009 championship. Um, that was a tough year for all the obvious reasons, but that was a tough year on me personally. I felt as the oldest guy, the second year senior, I felt a lot of responsibility to have been a better leader to that team. That was a tough year for me. There's been a few tough years for me as a professional too, over here in Europe. I just had, even that first year, as much as I loved it, that was a difficult year. I learned a lot about what I can handle and about how I needed to really be able to adapt to new situations, moving from Germany and then to Israel and then to Poland and then to Ukraine. And then, just to do that 4 straight years, that's
Yeah.
a pretty serious adjustment. You got to be ready to handle a lot of moving things. So, I had some tough years getting through that, but probably no more than that 2009-10 year. That won't hurt. That won't hurt.
Yeah. Just thinking about it, any advice to a player that might be coming out of college and choosing that overseas route? Yeah, like
Mm-hmm.
any advice to that adjustment that you might have learned since then?
I mean, just do as much research and get as much information as you possibly can, because when you are sitting at home and you're deciding what college to go to, you have a wealth of knowledge at your disposal of like where this college is located, what's going on around this school, all the people that are there already. Then as it pertains to basketball, the coach, who he is, you can easily talk to people who you've probably seen them coaching on TV, you can talk to people that have been there. And so it just seems a little easier to get all the pertinent information. And then when you're in the States and for the first time you're hearing that you're about to go play in a country you've probably never been to, and then you have no idea about the team, you have no idea about, how they're perceived in their community, if they're a respectable organization, and all these questions that you need to know really before you make that kind of decision. A lot of times players don't have that information. We're just more familiar with the professional route in the States. But as time goes on, more and more people, I think, are definitely making that jump and being successful. And of course, now we're seeing it on TV with, LaMelo Ball and all this stuff, about players going overseas. I mean, okay, we had some guys that did it before, Brandon Jennings, but it still wasn't. Now you can see the difference.
For
What we
sure.
know about LaMelo Ball's experience versus what we knew about Brandon Jennings' experience. Even those two situations, So it's like people are starting to get more and more information about it. But the biggest thing for me is just get as much info as possible, talk to as many people as possible. But hopefully, don't cross it off your list. It's still an interesting option. Depending on, what your end goals are, it can still be a very viable option. So it's been a beautiful experience for me, and I couldn't have seen it go any different for me. So I'm happy that I made that choice.
Awesome. I think it takes a few questions from the chat. Luke asked, "What are you up to?"
Gold. Excuse me. Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good.
Good one. I love
What are
it.
you up to right now outside of basketball / the camp? Any foreseeable projects after you hang the jersey up?
What am I up to right now? So, outside of the camp now, which is, we don't have to put too much emphasis on camp anymore. That's one thing that we've been doing since 2012. So this would have been our 9th summer doing it. Some other things, getting into some real estate stuff. getting interesting. I bought my first house in Chapel Hill a couple years ago. So starting to look at some other real estate stuff, getting some rental properties and stuff like that. So that's been taking up some time. Lucky again to have my mom on the ground in the States doing some great work for me on that end too. So
Yeah.
she's awesome. Shout out, Mom. Love you. She's been super supportive all the time. So that's been great. Also, interestingly enough, don't want to say too much, but there's some interesting stuff that could keep me in Europe after basketball. So, definitely have not been, I just saw something on Instagram today. TP, Terrence Petrie, shout out TP, teammates at Carolina. He posted the difference between waiting and patience, and waiting being inactive and patience being active, And so it's one great thing that also hopefully some of the athletes, if you see this, anybody really, is just for this question exactly, like, are you waiting until the end of your career, or are you just being patient to wait to move to the next thing,
Yeah.
Are you still putting things in place? Are you still getting yourself ready to make transitions, be adaptable, be ready for things to change? I've definitely been trying to see, what's going to work out best. But for me, I feel like I'm being patient and still actively trying to figure a lot of different things out. Who knows? Could end up back in Chapel Hill.
Yeah.
Never know. Never
For
know.
sure.
But yeah, I got some interesting things up in the air. Trying to see what's gonna catch hold and what I'll be putting most of my energy to. Luckily for now, thankfully, hopefully for now, we'll keep running up and down this court for a little bit, and
For
we'll see
sure.
what happens.
Yeah. Someone asked, did you take French at UNC and anywhere else that you would want to play in the world that you might not have yet?
So I took French starting in 8th grade. Ended up
Yeah.
super lucky at age 13 to have a trip to France because of that French class. So wouldn't have known it, but had French all through high school, a year or two at UNC just to kind of finish it out. I know I tested out of some stuff, not a lot probably, but like maybe one or two classes. And then didn't ever speak any French ever again until my 4th year playing in Europe, my 5th year, I believe, when I went to France. And
Yeah.
so I hadn't spoken any French for a long time, 7 years or something like that. But of course, then moving to France and living in France, it was perfect. It worked out
Yeah.
for me. But I would have never known at the time that, this French was going to work out. Everybody's taking Spanish. Everybody looking at me like I'm crazy for taking French. Like, what the heck are you
It's
taking French
hard.
for?
It's known to
But
be hard
yeah,
at UNC.
but it worked out. And the second question was somewhere that I haven't played that I'd like to play, a
Yeah.
country that I haven't played in.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I'm so ready to stay here in France and just play a few more years, if not the rest of my career here in France. But one place that I definitely think about is Spain.
Mm.
And Deion Thompson, another
Yeah.
good friend of mine, still to this day is playing in the south of Spain. And so to see him, go down there, and he played in Spain before as well, but to see him in this beautiful city on the beach in the south of Spain, it's like, man, that'd be pretty nice too. That'd be pretty nice.
For sure.
But France has been good to me, and I'm cool to stay here. In
Yeah.
terms of places to play, now if we're talking about places just to visit, man, that list's long.
Yeah.
That
I
list's
had
real long.
the opportunity to travel to France in high school for an exchange program, and it's definitely something very
Beautiful.
special and beautiful.
Very
I loved
special.
it. I loved it. I was there like a month, and it was awesome.
I couldn't imagine. I mean, that's a beautiful thing for a young kid, for sure.
Yeah.
For
I
sure.
think Jill, another person on the team, she asked, what was your favorite part of being at UNC as a student outside of playing ball?
My favorite part about being at UNC as a student outside of ball. I mean, oh man, one was definitely being a fan of other sports. Okay, so I guess that's outside of basketball. Let's say
Yeah.
being a fan of other sports for sure. That was always a fun time. I don't know. The students. I still have a lot of friends from Carolina that were just students. Actually, it's like
Yeah.
so we were it seemed as if, um, we were a bunch of friends, like everybody was close, everybody was friendly. We were having success on the basketball court. Obviously, that helps just kind of bring everybody's energy in terms of sports, just being good and everybody's happy and blah, blah, blah. But like, I don't know, it just seemed like it was just fun to be around everybody in school, going through these crazy times in your life from 18 to 22, but, in a beautiful place. Chapel Hill is just a beautiful town. It's a
Yeah.
beautiful city. And I just think everybody's got great energy in this town. And it was just fun to be around other students. Definitely other sports games, though, were a lot of fun. But, yeah, I just enjoy being in Chapel Hill, and that's why I own a house there.
Yeah. Any sports in particular, or maybe even a sport that you played before? I don't know. Or has it always been basketball for you?
It's really always been basketball for me. I mean, I played football, but it's really a waste of everybody's time to talk about that. And I mean, I ran track a little bit, but honestly, it's been mainly basketball. But yeah, obviously football games were a ton of fun. Man, girls basketball games were fun. What else did we do? Soccer games were great. Baseball games were great. Actually, I don't know. I might have to say baseball. Baseball was a good time. I definitely enjoyed going to baseball games.
They can be long, but they're fun.
That might actually win out for me. Baseball games were cool. Yeah. I mean, again, just to support other student athletes. Every student athlete understands that. Just supporting each other. We're a family too. So that was fun.
Okay. I do have one last question for you if we don't have any more come from the chat.
Okay.
But aside from Coach Williams' awesome sport coats and his wisdom on the court, what is a big lesson or maybe a few lessons that you've learned from Coach Williams?
I think one of them is so relevant right now, and it was one of his thoughts of the day. As I'm sure most know, every day before practice, we have a thought of the day. And his thought of the day was, we can't control the wind, but we can adjust our sails. And so, little did we know at the time, I'm thinking about it, but I'm really just trying to remember it so I don't have to run before practice, So we remember all these thoughts of the day, and, afterwards, we really get a chance to think about it. But, there's so much happening right now. Nobody knows what's going to happen when, and it's like, it just speaks to that idea of just so much is outside of our control. But, if we give 100% of our effort and our focus to things that we can control, then we'll be putting ourselves in a good position. And that's all we can do ever, in whatever situation you want to put that up against. So just control what you can control. And, then you can sleep better at the end of the night. You just do what you can do. So that was one of the things that that's the beautiful thing about basketball is that you learn so much about life through a game, and that's a beautiful thing. And so we didn't know what that really meant at the time. I don't think. Of course we could explain it, but that to me is just a beautiful lesson to take with you. And we learned so much from Coach Williams, but that's definitely something that has always stuck in my mind.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Marcus, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate
the wisdom, the memories. It's truly been awesome. Hopefully we can link up with you when you're back in Chapel Hill.
Absolutely. And if you get any student athletes getting out here to France or out here to Europe, get me in touch with them. Let's link up out here too.
I will make sure. I'll do my best to make that connection. But
yeah, if anybody's out here, or around.
Yes.
Sure.
Thank you so much. Stay safe.
All right, you too. Take care. Thanks, guys.
Of course. Bye.